proud to be an American. Perfect. And if you didn't raise your hand, this speech still applies to you. If you take a look around the classroom, you can see that we're all different, but something that we all have in common is that we're American, and we have the same rights. And one of those rights is the right to vote. With the 2012 election coming up, I'm going to inform you the importance of voting. So I'm going to go over a few things. One of the reasons is why people don't vote, the importance of voting, and what you can do to learn how to vote. So I'm going to start with why people don't vote. In 2008, 22 million Californians were eligible to vote, but only about 13 million of them actually voted. One of the reasons why people don't vote is because they don't have enough time. When you're at work or at school, you don't really feel like going to wait in line, or you don't want to spend your free time learning about politics or going to go sign up to register to vote. Another reason why is because people aren't interested in politics, and this can mean a number of things. One of the reasons why I've noticed is because some people get raised and adopt their family's beliefs, and so they don't really feel interested in looking more into politics. They just kind of assume whatever their parents tell them is true, so they don't really feel like going into depth about it. And another reason why is because of controversial topics. Like, you can't mention abortion or gay marriage without tension causing the air, and people want to avoid that topic, so they decide not to have an opinion at all, so they just decide not to vote. Another reason why is because they believe that their vote doesn't count. So a lot of people think, I'm just 1 in a million, so why does it matter? But like the statistic that I gave you, there were 9 million people who didn't vote. So if they all thought the same thing, then they were clearly wrong, because 9 million people would definitely make a difference. So now that I've gone over why people don't vote, I'm going to tell you the importance of voting. There are a lot of reasons why voting is important, but some of them are some of the biggest election issues actually affect directly us, the youth. And some examples include soldiers or school funding and job and employment programs. Because we are the youth, we are the future. So we've all been related to this one way or another. We know soldiers, and we see the effects of when people have families who have soldiers, or we have friends that are planning to be soldiers. So we kind of determine what happens to them and what happens to their families, and I think that's a really big deal. And another thing about school funding, we've all seen what it's like to go from a classroom of 20 to 100, and to see what happens when budget cuts happen and when teachers get their paychecks cut. It's not fun, and the only way we can help is if we get involved. And with job and employment programs, we're all in college right now. We're hoping to get a job once we leave college. And so the way we can determine that we can get the best opportunities is if we get involved with voting and figuring out what would be the best and fair program. So now that I've told you the importance of voting, I'm going to go over why, or what you can do to learn how to vote. Basically, the eligibility to vote is you have to be at least 18 years old. You have to be an American citizen. You cannot be in jail, and you cannot be found mentally incompetent by a court. So pretty much, and I learned about this in my U.S. government class last year, that you don't even have to know how to read or write, kind of, and they have people who can help you fill out your ballot, and you can speak a different language, and they can translate for you, you can still vote. So pretty much, as long as you're not mentally incompetent, or you can be not in jail, as long as you're 18 and you're an American citizen, you can vote. Another thing I would suggest doing if you're interested in voting is going online, and that works for finding out about politics as well. You can look up more information about politicians before you decide to vote. And the internet is a great way to find out more information about where you can pick up your voting information, and you can actually go online and print out your voter registration right online. And another thing you have to keep in mind is re-registering. There are only about 3 times when you have to re-register, and that's when you change your address, or if you change your name, or if you change your political party. And if you weren't aware, there are 2 political parties. It's usually Republican or Democrat. But sometimes if you go on there, it says you don't have to list it, so it's not a big deal. And now that I've gone over why people don't vote, the importance of voting, and why you should vote, I'm going to tell you about an example in history of what happens when people are apathetic. So, oh, that's not mine. What? Press F5. Okay. So, in 1939, 739 Jews, or 937 Jews boarded the MS St. Louis, and they came from Germany during the time of the Holocaust. They went to Cuba, Canada, and America, and they were rejected by all 3 of them. Subsequently, they were sent back to Europe, and they were put into the concentration camps, and they were killed. A lot of people don't realize that when you don't get involved, stuff like this can happen. And a although today our issues may not seem as severe as they used to be, they are still important. Voting is a small step to making a big difference. You should take advantage of your right to vote because not many people were given the right to vote before our time. A lot of people forget that our votes weren't just handed to us, that people had to fight for them before. So I hope in the 2012 election you take advantage of your right to vote. And you remember the words of Edmund Burke, who said, "All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing." Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.